Welcome back to another episode of Coin Edition's Web3 interview. My name is Tobit and I'm the host of today's episode. Today we have Piyush, the CEO of PolyTrade. And today we'll be discussing about PolyTrade's journey, about the real world assets, and the mission behind, the purpose behind PolyTrade's development. So, how are you, Piyush?
Hey, Tawed, thanks for inviting me here. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's pretty busy time for us,
Mm.
and I guess the world is going into the vacation mode as we are approaching Christmas,
Yes.
and it's exactly opposite in our office right now. So yeah, I could say things are pretty good.
Yeah. You actually recently went to the India Blockchain Week, yes?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. How was it? How was the experience? Could you share some
Um,
exciting moments about that event?
I mean, India Blockchain Week definitely this year has garnered a lot of enthusiasm globally. This is the first time I have seen so many international protocols in India putting up their booths and being there on the panels, which was not seen before. I mean, in spite of the fact that Indian regulatory environment is still so unclear, um, people are at least kind of convinced with one thing that yes, India produces really good founders or really good talent, right? The atmosphere was full of energy, young founders, no negativity around, and most importantly, there was not that bull market crap which was always there, right? People are very grounded. People are
Mm.
talking sense. So it was a fantastic 3 days for me this time in India Blockchain Week. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Right. So again, like I mentioned before, that today's interview will be discussing about Polytrade's journey. But I think before we do that, we want to know about your journey actually, because after conducting my own research, I've noticed that you have a decade of experience in trade finance industry and as well as an educational background in BTech aerospace engineering from IIT
Mhm.
Mumbai, which is both of them are completely different fields to what you're doing
That's
right now.
correct. Yeah.
So, what motivated you to enter the real world asset and tokenization industry specifically?
Yeah, so I'll not take much time into the history of things, but yeah, I did my grad in 2006 from IIT Bombay, and it was again for the Web 2 world, it was a pretty big bull market before the financial crisis happened. So most of my batchmates were placed in large banks. I myself got placed in Hong Kong with Societe Generale, the French bank. That's how the career moved into finance straight from the college. And then, once you get into the fields like finance and you have a better understanding of something, it's very difficult to get out of it. I mean, it's very addictive, if at the least I can say,
Mhm.
right? So, yeah, from 2006 to 2014, I was into my job life, moved many positions, worked in private equity, worked in trading aspects, worked in, hedge fund, all those things. But then finally, as you say that there's a day when you have a calling. In 2014, I decided to move out and start my own business. And that's where the journey of trade finance in Web2 world began for me. So 2014 to 2021, we did a 7 year of hardcore trade finance business, largely spanning across Asia, Middle East. So we had offices in Hong Kong, Singapore, UAE, India, with a team of 30-35 people. We are still considered as one of the most reputed trade finance brands in Asia and Middle East. 2021, I I met Sandeep from Polygon. I guess I would always give credit to Sandeep for moving me into Web3, because although it's a 45-minute discussion with him, but his vision, and I'm talking about 2020 December. So you can imagine that time itself, Polygon was nothing as such what it is today, right? But Sandeep's vision were always great. So he pushed me into believing the fact that we are getting into the world where blockchain will rule and everything will be on blockchain. And if you think of creating rails on blockchain for everything in our day-to-day life, financial services becomes a must because everything moves on financial rails, right? So, um, with 7 years of Web2 experience running a successful business, Sandeep's point was very clear that we need more and more Web2 founders to move into Web3, and that's how Web3 ecosystem will start emerging or becoming bigger, right? So That was a brainwashing moment for me, I would say. I moved out. I went back home and sat with my team, started conceptualizing exactly what we wanted to do. And that's where PolyTrade was born. So we did our white paper. Again, Sandeep was gracious enough to come on the board as an advisor, helped us through steer through this, initial times, understanding what Web3 is all about, ethos and everything. And then, yeah, we all have fast learning curves, and especially in blockchain, crypto space, because 3 to 4 months is almost as a year. So we did our IDO in 2021, August. We went live with our first invoice financed on chain in February 2022. And since then, in spite of bear market, bull market, all that is happening, we have funded around $7.5 million worth of invoices with numbers around 200 plus. And from there, as you say that, once you get into the scaling mode, you realize that you also realize what are the gaps in the industry, and you realize what's required today. And that's what pushes us into everyday's activity and what we are building now. So I'll come to where we are today into a bit, but yeah, that's all about my history and how Polytrade was born.
Thank you so much for answering that. Again, I'm trying to understand more about PolyTrade as well as help our audience also as well as understand about PolyTrade. So there's already a diverse financial solutions on in the market, and what strategies will PolyTrade implement to stand out in the market, and what are the unique solutions of PolyTrade?
Sure. So, as I mentioned, we started with tokenization of invoices because one thing which I've been doing for 7, 8 years before that, it was something which you could wake us up at 3 in the night and ask us anything about invoice, and we would be able to answer you. We knew what were the problems in the industry. We knew what could solve those problems. With successful POC of invoice financing being done, there was a moment in all of our team, PolyTrade's team, that we realized that we are into a very fragmented industry yet. So somebody is doing treasury bills, somebody is doing invoices, 3 or 4 players globally are doing invoice financing, but nobody knew about them, right? So you as an audience or you as an investor today would not be able to first find out who all are doing invoice financing business, right? There are geographical bounds, they are on different chains for all that matter. Uh, how do we solve the problem of discovery? Can we actually think of bringing them all on one platform and make a user's life easy? And trust me, there is a thought behind it to build the ecosystem as one ecosystem because there is a liquidity sitting on each chain. There are users who are very chain loyal, or they are very comfortable with some particular chain. It's very difficult to convince them to move their liquidity from one chain to another or to participate in a protocol which is on completely different chain, right? Reasons are multifold. Either they don't know about that protocol, that product. Even if they know, the bridging is itself a kind of mammoth of a task for them. And thirdly, how to keep a track. If my some liquidity is on Ethereum, some liquidity is on Polygon, some liquidity is on Arbitrum, or 100 chains are there, how would I keep a track where my money is sitting? Which assets are getting mature, which assets I need to act, right? These were the initial problems which we jot down, and we thought that there is no solution right now, especially when it comes to real world assets. That led us to start conceptualizing the marketplace idea. So Polytrade is for last 2.5 months, with all the reccees in the market, talking to almost 70 protocols globally, understanding their pain points, explaining and resonating our thought process with them, which they agree, and they were quite happy that somebody is even thinking about this. We got nod from almost everybody saying that yes, we as a protocol need somebody to get us secondary liquidity or exit liquidity because today if you put money into protocols like Maple, Goldfinch, even for Polytrade for that matter, I mean, if you come to me and say that Piyush, I need money tomorrow, I can't give you your money back because your money has been deployed into a real world asset which has a maturity attached with it. I can't suddenly go to Walmart and say that, hey, give my money back because I need to pay it to somebody, right? That liquidation is a big issue today in RWA, and that hurts a protocol and that hurts a user both. What if there was a place where the user can come and list his position of Maple, Goldfinch, or any such protocol and do a secondary sale of it. Because I know it's not a fast moving market. You won't think that Maple position is being traded very often, but still there are buyers and still there are sellers. You need a platform to bring them together. Um, and the first problem which I mentioned about discovery, I think that is a bigger problem to solve, at least at this stage. There are more than 10 protocols which are doing treasury bills, different chains, different geographies, right? How do you know which protocols to go to? How do you do your own underwriting of these protocols and decide that which is good, which is bad? Can I diversify my risk by putting my so your underlying asset is still treasurable, but can I reduce my risk by not taking larger exposure on one protocol and distribute my risk among 10? All those things are being as we speak being built at PolyTrade marketplace. So we primarily bring three main aspects. One is the discovery. So you could sort by asset class, you can sort by chain, you can sort by geography, you can sort by yield, multiple options, but you will be able to get everything at one place. The second thing which we are bringing is the trading aspect of it. So I'm not sure if you have been following us, but we authored 6960 ERC, which is the tokenization standard. So every asset which any user wants to list on our marketplace has to wrap it in 6960, which means so it's a dual layer token. The parent NFT holds the actual asset, and the secondary NFT is where the you can change the values, you can fractionalize it, and all that comes into play. So yeah, every asset which comes to our marketplace will be wrapped in 6960, and 6960 then becomes tradable. And the original position, be it Maple position, Goldfinch position, or be it a Rolex watch, it's all sitting in the primary ID or in the vault, right? So that's the secondary aspect of it. And finally, the third and the last, which is the most important and closer to my heart, is we're talking to few protocols about bringing leverage. So if there is an underlying T-bill, for example, which in Web2 world, you can easily find and get a leverage on top, right? Because it's a treasury bill, it's a US government risk, right? Any private bank would be able to give you funding against it. We don't have that in Web3 yet. So we are talking to a couple of liquidity providers who are saying that if there is an underlying position, be it wrapped into Maple, be it wrapped into Open Eden, be it wrapped into Ondo, doesn't matter. If there is an underlying T-bill, and somehow we are able to get collateral as that position, we can lend on top of it. So in our marketplace, you will see embedded finance, where people who are wrapping their positions in 6960 then can stake 6960 to borrow money against it. So think of it as a completely financial services model where you have underlying assets. I used to think it like a typical Web2 marketplace where you go into a supermarket and you see everything there. There are offers, there are credit cards which will tell you that buy one get one free, and all those options which we see in our normal world. We want to build that in our marketplace. So that's where we stand today with PolyTrade, where we are.
Thank you so much for answering that. Now, normally from the user's perspective and investor's perspective, let's say they are completely new about this industry and completely new about literally about investing and all that. So, what advice would you give them when they are trying to enter, like, let's say for instance, Polytrade? So, what advice would you give them, like when they are, joining Polytrade?
I mean, again, let's skip one step and say that the person is reasonable enough to understand what investment is. In Web2 world, he would know that he has to put money in stock markets and he would buy bonds and he would put some money in real estate, right? If that person is qualified enough to do those tasks in Web2, the Web3 is nothing but actually democratizing these assets and giving a user access in one shot. So you are sitting here today and you want to invest in some asset emerging out of Mexico, which was not possible in Web2. Web3 does that for you, right? So for me, I believe that first hand the user gets a democratized access to global assets, uh, different asset classes. So funnily we talk about T-bills all the time because that's the largest TVL today of or real world assets. How difficult is it for me and you to actually go and buy a treasury bill in the Web2 world? It's not difficult, but it's a very complicated process. You go and open a brokerage account with some global broker, and then you'll put money, and then he will buy those assets. And if you want to exit, you have to wait for the weekends. Your settlement periods are T+2. All those typical things which we face, right? You come in Web3 and you say, "Wow, with a click of button, I just bought T-bill. I don't have to open any brokerage accounts. I don't have to go through hundreds of papers to fill. I don't have to sign. I don't have to, get my passports notarized with somebody. And that's my T-bill position right away. And I want to exit. I don't have to wait for Saturday, Sundays to get over. I can exit at 3 in the night anytime I want. So my advice is that once you get access to a platform like Polytrade, you are getting open to a lot of assets, which probably are in your investment thesis, that yes, I want to put some money in real estate, some money in fixed income, some money in stocks, you would be able to find everything at one place. You could very carefully design your strategies and just participate in the underlying protocols in one shot. So ideally, we want to give that kind of financial experience to every user.
Thank you so much again for answering that. The third question that I want to ask is about the regulatory landscape. Now, we already see reports coming in about regulators making a move with in the crypto industry, not necessarily against them, but in a ways and a means to secure and
Yeah,
promote the crypto industry, as some experts claim.
correct.
Um, so, how is Polytrade adapting to this evolving regulatory environment in the crypto and blockchain industry?
I think I'm glad that you said that the regulations are not here to cut us out, but regulations are here to support us and bring a little bit more sanity, bring more controls, bring more safety around the products being offered, right? We don't want events like FTX to happen every day, where people lose billions of dollars. It is very important because otherwise, we become a la la land. Anybody can come and kill anybody and steal the money. That's why we have regulations. That's why we have law and order. So I believe regulations are good. Regulators must create some rails around the safety of users' funds and all that. With reasonable, Web3, Web2 ethos, I think somewhere in between there is a thin line. Um, as Polytrade, we understand that today our marketplace will be listing more than 10,000 assets, and each asset is coming from a protocol who has already taken a regulatory approval in their jurisdiction. So, purely talking about financial assets right now. I mean, collectibles, Pokemon cards, and Rolex are still unregulated in that way. But if you talk about treasury bills, you would understand that not any Tom, Dick, and Harry can issue you or buy treasury bills for you. He would need certain broker-dealer licenses and whatnot, right? So, first thing we follow is that our protocol will not allow permissionless listing of assets. So every asset which is being listed on our marketplace would be carefully, thoroughly, judged and seen by our team. So we will make sure that nobody just comes and throw any garbage to the users. Every asset, every protocol is licensed, regulated in their particular jurisdiction. Whether they are qualified to sell that product is more important for us. We are more of a distribution platform, if you look at it. So I'll take you back to the Web2 analogy of it, right? Today we see Amazon, and Amazon is today listing probably a billion products. But Amazon is not the seller of those products. The sellers are completely different. Amazon is just a distribution platform, right? Think of us as like that. That yes, we have hundreds and thousands of assets listed, but we are not the seller. We are not licensed to sell those products, and we are definitely not custodians. Those assets are completely third-party products, and our disclaimer will be very clear on that. You do your own research, you buy these products, it's your risk, your money. We are just distribution platform. In spite of said that, we are taking legal opinions in UAE as well to understand that since we are distributing even wrapped financial products, we might touch the regulatory aspect of it. So, if required, we are taking legal opinions here, and if required, we'll apply for VARA license and get, at least in one jurisdiction, we'll get our license secured.
Right. Let's talk about the security and privacy. And these are the two most demanded features for users especially that are seeking, financial solutions. Now, how does
Correct.
Polytrade ensure the security and privacy of user data and transaction on its platforms?
So important enough that, first of all, we are not a new player. Been 3 years in the industry now. We had successfully run protocol where we had almost 6, 7 investor pools open when users' money came in, successfully redeemed, got their interests and everything. So I think it is very important for us to follow these guidelines. Every smart contract gets audited multiple times. We ensure that we are not keeping any user funds logged into a smart contract, which is not properly audited, which is not properly regulated in a way. Um, Being said that, again, look at the marketplace model. At some times, it becomes a peer-to-peer transfers. So you want to sell something, and there is a user who wants to buy something, right? It's actually a one-on-one interaction. I mean, right? So what is happening is these smart funds are not locking your money at any point, at least in our first launch. But if you look at what OpenSea does today, even if there is an asset listed and it's not available for sale, a user can always give an offer to buy it, right? That means if I'm holding $1,000 position and somebody comes and offers me $1,100 for that, I might be tempted to sell my position, right? Because I'm making decent profits. We are building that feature, which will also be available. But in that feature, you have to understand that when somebody offers, his funds get locked till the time that offer gets rejected or till the time you pull your offer out back, right? And the third scenario is, of course, the other person accepts the offer. Then the funds release from escrow and moves to that person's wallet, and the asset gets transferred. So that is the only instance where we will be holding funds, users' funds. But again, these are highly regulated, highly audited smart contracts, and we have never seen any such fund which has happened in past. These are very secure vaults where these funds are being kept. So yes, to answer you in short, again, the security is paramount for us. Confidentiality, I think Web3 brings that confidentiality element with it. So you are dealing with your wallet, you are known as your wallet ID. We allow people to create their nicknames and all that, but yeah, their real identity would not be revealed ever. Again, if you're buying an NFT today on OpenSea, you don't know who the seller is. You just know their wallet addresses and their profile name.
Thank you so much again. Finally, another question that I have is about the user engagement because through users, various organizations, I'm sure even Polytrade, that is one way they know what the users wants and needs. So, how does Polytrade engage with its user community, and what other strategies does Polytrade leverage to understand the wants of their users?
I mean, when we talk about users, we are talking about these billions of people with different traits, different understandings, different moods, different environments. And that's one thing I love about Web3, right? If you go to our community chat, I don't know, like there are thousands of people there, right? If you go to our Twitter account, there are 65,000 followers. And every single thing we do or act is is very minutely monitored by somebody. And that somebody has full open voice to come out in public and talk about it, right? One wrong move and you are exposed. Uh, and I love this part so much because it it somehow makes us do things in the right way. It somehow makes us feel confident that if I do something wrong, I will be caught. At times it has happened that we even apologize to community because of some action we have taken which was probably not in favor of Web3 ethos, right? I think this is where, the community engagement, the transparency between users is so important. What we are building, where it is going, what are the features, who are the partners, what is our strategy, what is our roadmap. Everything is so crystal clear and transparent. It keeps us my team, me on toes all the time. That yes, if I have declared to the whole world that this is my deadline for something, by hook or crook, I have to reach there, right? So if I have to hire more people to get there, if I have to work extra hours to get there, we will get it done, right? So again, for me, community in Web3 is the most important aspect of any project that can make you or break you. If you don't have a good community, you will never be able to succeed in Web3. So I think for us, um, we we believe that we are one world. We don't bifurcate between geographies. And that is the reason that we constantly try to get into different communities, get into different geographies, try to speak their language, try to understand what they want, and bring those products and features into our marketplace. So I think it's a non-stop exercise. And as a Web3 team, as a Web3 founder, I think that exercise will never stop. So
Yes,
hope I'm able to
this-
answer what you meant.
yes, yes, absolutely. Again, like you said, it is a time-consuming process. First of all, it takes a lot of time and a lot of hard work to give what the users want. So, in another news, there was back in September of this year, PolyTrade announced that they were one of the 6 companies that joined the Mastercard's Start Path Blockchain and Digital Assets program. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yes. So, what does PolyTrade or what did they hope to achieve from this program?
So if I answer you this, this also adds up to your previous question that a community needs trust to be built. It's very difficult to gain the trust of community. They don't just believe you of what you are saying.
Mhm.
They believe in actions. They want to see what is achieved and what is not achieved, right, by the project. And partnerships like Mastercard actually brings a lot of trust into into the community because they understand that Mastercard is not a new Web3 startup, right? A Mastercard is not a $1 million enterprise. It's a global enterprise with more than 100 banks as its partners and more than billion merchants. And we use in our day-to-day life Mastercard. We believe Mastercard, right? A merchant in Africa in a village would be happy to accept a credit card issued by somebody from Bangladesh because they believe that there is Mastercard who will settle this payment, right? So Mastercard, when we think of Mastercard Visa, we think of trust. That is the one word which comes to our mind, right? Now, Mastercard has been very innovative in their approach in terms of bringing new technologies, in terms of partnering to the right people who can add to these uh, features as a payment processor, which they need. Nobody is aloof from blockchain. Everybody wants to get their toes dipped in blockchain in one way or the other. Talk about large banks, talk about large institutions, talk about government organizations. Everybody is somewhere doing something in blockchain. Mastercard is no different. So they have this Start Path program, which is multiple streams, and it's not something new. But Start Path Crypto is something new. But Start Path program is an accelerator program of Mastercard, which they have been running for a few years, where they have various streams like SMEs, microfinance, impact, could be hundreds of other streams where they pick up these 5, 6 companies every year in that cohort. It's a 4 to 6 month cohort where Mastercard comes, invests, brings a lot of synergies among their global teams, talk to the founders, understand what they need, and help them, provide those resources primarily. So StartPath Crypto is similar program run by Mastercard where it's the first year where they chose 7 startups. It's not 6 actually, it's 7. They added one more later. 7 startups are being chosen for all the things they are doing, which are probably Mastercard wants to incorporate in their suite of products and services. And Mastercard does this very strategically. So every startup is chosen in a way that it can become a strategic partner for Mastercard in their services and offerings, right? So PolyTrade Mass Marketplace, PolyTrade tokenization tools, which is ERC 6960, the one I mentioned, PolyTrade's trade finance expertise. These are 3 prime features for which PolyTrade was chosen. And now we are working with them very closely on coming out with a couple of pilots, which they will offer in their app store and all that. So
So, the final question that I have is actually trying to understand what has been the most rewarding aspect for you while leading PolyTrade.
it's very difficult to answer in one word, but I would say the Web3, one thing which I love about Web3 particularly is that, and you have seen Web2 world, I'm sure decent enough, right? We have lived our college life, we have come out, we did jobs and all. The habit of saying that this is mine and not to be shared by anybody, and the risk of somebody stealing it from you, be it a startup idea, be it a code you have written, be it anything which you're doing in your life, we always keep it very close to our heart. Uh, the big change after, and trust me, I've just turned 40. So the big change which came into my life after spending 35 odd years into the Web2 world is that Web3 gives you this openness of sharing. What's mine could be yours, what's yours could be mine. There is no code, everything is open source, every idea is out there in the public. We have touched upon the aspect of community. You could be answered publicly, you could be questioned publicly, and you need to answer honestly. You will be answerable to millions of people, right? Uh, this big change in the lifestyle, which Web3 brings to you, is one of the most is the biggest takeaway for me. Um, that's what I couldn't answer anything more than that.
Thank you so much. Actually, that's perfect. It makes sense as well because Web3 is it is a collaborative space, to be honest. And thank you so much for sharing your insights, and I'm sure the audience also loved all the answers and learned a lot about Polytrade as well. Uh, and now, again, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to interview you. So finally, to all my viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. If you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.